name is Frazer Anderson. I'm an American venture capitalist with Vestigo Ventures. We focus on investing in early-stage AI-enabled businesses with a focus on financial services. Today, I'm joined by my friend Jay Wolcott, CEO of Knowbl, my dear friend Guy Assad, CEO of Clerkie, and my friend and mentor and partner Dave Blundin, who's a general partner at Vestigo. We're going to start with a question about, we've seen essentially a step function or a sea change in the capabilities of sort of language-based AI technologies. So for Jay and Guy, maybe you can talk a little bit about how this has changed the way you build technology within your own companies, and if in answering the question you give the folks a taste of what you do, that I think would be super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Frazer. I've spent most of my time in customer experience. So started out early days in marketing and got assigned to work on contact centers, which weren't very sexy. Not much has changed in that industry. So what I've been doing as an entrepreneur for the last 15 years is trying to bring AI into that customer experience. Because one of the big drivers of customer satisfaction is reducing their amount of effort. And where we sit today in 2024, not a lot of things have changed around the customer. There's a lot of big ideas of where AI is going to be applied, but websites are largely the same for the last 25 years. A home page, product page, service page, and then if you need to get a hold of the company, the ever-present 1-800 number. So at Knowbl, we're reinventing customer experience automation using large language models to help bring brand concierge to that experience that make us think about getting rid of our websites or really turning our telephone calls into exciting and engaging experiences for that end user that really drive commerce.
For us, like the thing that's been drastically different is just like, the time it takes to train models, the accuracy and the precision that we're seeing with the models. I mean, a lot of people might not realize this, but it wasn't until recently that we started to see a lot of the changes and evolution that we've had with AI. And a lot of that actually started around 2017 when I think it was Ashish Vaswani, who was at Google, ex-USC guy, published this paper that was attention is all that matters, or all you need. And that really drove the transformation and the evolution that we've seen in AI today, because that was the first introduction with transcoders and understanding how transformers can actually really help expedite the training process, but also help you get better results. And so when we first started the company, I mean, a lot of time we were training these models, we were waiting in the middle of the night for these things to be done. Sometimes your connection would be basically cut off. You'd cross your fingers, hope on AWS the instance didn't die, that there was no errors and so forth. And so that has drastically changed. And we don't have to deal with a lot of these issues. And then once you've deployed the model, what used to happen is you have to really pay attention to what the user is basically interacting with, right? Sometimes you might need to intervene, sometimes you might not need to intervene. Sometimes the model might be telling you that the answer that it's giving you has very high confidence, but then when a human actually takes a closer look at it, it's actually wildly off, right? And so there's a lot of things that again has changed with the advance of Gen AI and the LLMs. There's higher fidelity, I would say, on the context side of things, but also there's higher fidelity and kind of the output and the speed that we're basically using to interface with customers as well. So again, that has drastically changed the face of our business, and what that means is we're able to basically interact with a lot more borrowers, a lot more consumers or partners than we ever could do before. What we're able to basically achieve now is pretty much human-powered AI models that work and that scales very, very efficiently. And that translates directly to the bottom line, which I know is not something that's very common in Silicon Valley.
Not at all. I really want to pick up on that too, because I got to tell you a quick story. I was on this exact stage in 2020 with one of our partners from our venture fund, and she had written an entire book using GPT-2. And she's showing the book. You could buy it on Amazon, and nobody got it. Nobody realized what a big deal this was. And so today, in this forum, I have the luxury of teaching at MIT where everybody is, really gets it. But you get out into the rest of the world, and there's so much denial about the timeline. They don't realize how much, because Sam Altman made this point the other day too. It's like, hey, if you look at what happened just in 1 year in terms of the progression from GPT-2 to 3 to 3.5 to 4, if you have any vision at all, you've got to realize that all human-to-human communication can be replaced with human-to-avatar communication this calendar year. And people are like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, but you guys are two of the people that I know that are extremely rare that completely see that, because you're working with it. What did you say, 2019? Yeah. Yeah. Tell us what the timeline, like what you can see is definitely going to happen in the next, say, 6 months, 1 year, year and a half, because it is so much more than people think.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question, and if I knew exactly what was going to happen, maybe I wouldn't be a founder, maybe I'd be betting on markets and so forth. But I will say this: there are certain trends that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's going to happen very quickly, right? Particularly, I think what we're seeing is both on the consumer side and on the enterprise side, we're seeing a lot of ways that we can make humans' life like a lot simpler and a lot more efficient. And I'll talk about some examples that we're seeing even within our business. So, people talk oftentimes about being like a AI first company or a tech first company, and for us, AI is no different than technology, right? And so we're not just trying to deploy AI, in our products or in a consumer-facing service. We're also trying to actively deploy AI actively inside our company. And so what that means is completely rethinking how you run business and how you actually function. And so that starts from the hiring process, where we're able to generate JDs for complex roles that we might be looking for, where we might not even have visibility into the specific skill requirements. Like, we know what is going to be at a high level, but there might be some in-depth expertise that we might not have thought about. And so we start there. We even use it on the onboarding side. Oftentimes what people don't realize, even at a company of our size, there's still a lot of siloed knowledge, because things are moving so incredibly fast. There are sales calls that are happening every day. There are basically customer support interactions that are happening every day. There are meetings that are happening every day. And so when we sat down and we started asking ourselves, hey, how do we try to basically share that knowledge at an incredibly fast pace, the same way that we're basically developing our products, right? And so what that has translated into is almost like an internal page or a wiki page where people can actually actively go and get summaries on what had transpired on this specific group or with this particular customer. And the last piece is even on the development side. I think we're starting to see opportunities where that can help us accelerate as well. And we've been experimenting with basically code generation, which I know is not necessarily new. I think there's been companies that's been experimenting with that for the past 1 to 2 years, but it's the first time that we've been actually trying to deploy that internally in our walls and trusting that that's going to work. And a lot of what we're finding is, again, it's not going to solve the problem, it's not going to give you the answer, but it can make your life easier by basically starting with the scaffolding, and then you can actually go in there and basically build. So those are some of the enterprise examples. On the consumer side, I think we're already seeing a lot of these great progresses that's going to happen very soon enough. You're going to have a smart car that's not only going to be able to tell you exactly what is wrong with the car, but explain to you hey, this is the step that you need to actually take to either fix that. Do you need to take it to a mechanic? And hopefully it'll be able to drive itself as well, right? And so I think you're going to see some of these use cases permeate both inside the households, but also in our day-to-day life.
Focus on the enterprise and then focus on the customer. I thought 2024 was going to be the year where the customer priority was going to come forward. But a lot of the talk and the predictions this year are still about just helping the worker. And I think we're going to see a divide begin to happen in what consumers' expectations are of automation versus what company capabilities are if they don't begin to accelerate their progress. And this is a topic we spend a lot of time on. Whereas if I'm an individual consumer and I can go to ChatGPT or any other application and get information quickly, get things done easily, and then I go over to a company website, let's just say it's my mobile phone carrier, and it takes me 30 minutes on a phone call getting to a human to have to change my physical address. This divide is really going to start to separate my loyalty toward brands that don't make it easy for me to be a consumer. And I think it's going to have a major impact on commerce, and we'll begin to see marketers and brands and agencies begin to invest a lot more in the months to come because the consumer's expectations are changing that much faster than the way that companies are adopting it. So a significant step change for sure.
I think what's quite interesting is, I mean, and Dave, since you started basically the first neural network company in AI, and certainly out of MIT, and certainly the most successful one. Something that's been a little bit eerie walking around here is just seeing AI everywhere now. And I think it does beg the question, sort of, where are we in the cycle, and what are the pieces about AI that people really aren't talking about but should be? Jay, I don't know if you've got something you want to jump on this one with, or Dave, but what are people not talking about enough within the segment?
Well, one of my all-time heroes, Jan LeCun, was on this stage just less than an hour ago, and we were working on neural network technology back right after backpropagation was invented in 1986. And so from our point of view, this has been improving very, very, very steadily all the way up through this year. And so it doesn't look like hype. It looks like progress. But I think we're coming on the tail end of a huge amount of blockchain investment and valuations that have plummeted. So everyone sort of in the back of their mind has this concept of, whoa, maybe there's an AI hype cycle, and maybe 2 years from now we'll be talking about quantum computing and not AI. Not going to happen. AI is very real, and it hits these tipping points where things like image recognition, recognizing faces and labeling them on your phone, they go from science fiction to, oh yeah, we've had that for a year now. They just become mainstream, and then you kind of forget what a big deal that was. But speech recognition, I have best friends that worked on speech recognition for 15 years of their lives and said, someday this is going to get solved. Suddenly it's in the world, it's demoed right there, it's perfect. And we're like, oh, okay, yeah, so computers can recognize speech. But when you get this synergy between speech recognition, speech synthesis, which is also now perfect, and then it had nothing intelligent to say. Oh, wait, the LLM just suddenly gave it something intelligent to say. That closes the loop. And people don't really fully assimilate. That's a closed loop, human simulated avatar that you can talk to right now. When I was on the stage last time, that was an impossible concept. Now it's right here, and people are like, yeah, I'm going to walk by it and get some foie gras. Wait, this is going to change the way we interact fundamentally, and we're not going back.
Well, Jay, Guy, Dave, thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for watching. You're the real stars. You came all the way to Switzerland because you care. Auf Wiedersehen.